I'll see this. I'll point this towards the camera so you guys can see this. So cheers. Cheers. Welcome into the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour. I am the Crypto Bull God. And this, so what I'm having for happy hour this evening is a red blend wine. It's literally just that. It's a red blend wine. It's from Costco. You know, Costco, actually, the Kirkland name brand, if you guys aren't familiar, if you like wine, check out the Kirkland name brand. You can save yourself a boatload of money and get decent wines. I actually remember watching a documentary way back in the day on, I think it was Amazon Prime or on CNBC. I don't know where the heck I watched it, but I watched a documentary on how they selected their wines for Kirkland brand, and it seemed pretty extensive. I've been happy with every Kirkland brand wine. No, I am not affiliated with Costco or Kirkland name brand, but I've been really impressed with their wines. So I actually have a red blend from them. It has like a Cab and a Merlot and a, I don't know, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. So there's a couple different grapes blended in there, and it's pretty good. And then I don't know if you can see this on the camera here, and drop a comment. Let me know what you guys are having during the happy hour. This is Blue Mountain Vineyards. So the last time I was there was a few years back when I went home. I think it was 2019. I actually remember that trip, right before all the lockdowns. But Blue Mountain Vineyards is a vineyard in Pennsylvania. So this is a glass that I have two of them. This is a glass that I took during my trip there. I've been there several times in my 20s and 30s. Going to Blue Mountain Vineyards. So that's what I'm having this evening. Let me know what you guys are having this evening. Yes, I am actually live. Thank you for joining the live stream. You look like a first new time viewer, so appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button and tuning in. We have a lot of things to cover this evening. I actually wanted to kick off the happy hour with a little bit of, I don't know, it's a minor announcement, but I just want to make you guys aware. And as we get closer to the date that I feel pretty certain on, I'll put out a reminder on YouTube. But I alluded to this on the Bitcoin Crypto Weekly Close. But it's big news for me personally in my personal life. So I have finally scheduled elbow surgery for my right elbow. It's something I've been putting off. It might have been something that I've discussed. It's a relatively minor procedure. It's called arthroscopic surgery, arthroscopic elbow surgery. The only unfortunate part is, long story short, originally I was supposed to move up to northern Florida. That fell apart. So when the thought process was that I was moving up to northern Florida, I actually started utilizing some healthcare up in that area, okay? And one of the things that I did utilize was seeing a specialist, an elbow specialist for my elbow. I was having, I think I explained this to you guys, like if you look at, you can see, you can see I can fully extend my left, and I can't, you see the differential, I can't extend my right all the way. So, and it's quite painful, and it's gotten to the point where it does impede on a lot of my lifts. Lifting weights is a big deal for me. I do it every morning. It's how I start my day. It's a big part of my life. So it's going to be somewhat of a inconvenience because I have to travel north to see the surgeon who's going to be doing that. I have to work out some details there. But I am excited to get this done. So that is slated for November 1st. Tuesday, November 1st is when I'm getting my surgery. Again, relatively minor procedure. I'm not nervous one bit about the actual procedure. The part I'm nervous about is what rehab is going to look like. But you know, as I would say to you guys, something that I reminded myself, you know, when you face adversity in life, I've had a lot of adversity. I'm sure you guys have faced adversity in your life. When you're faced with adversity, you got to dig deep. You got to draw on things you've been successful at and just push through it, work through it, right? So I have full confidence in myself. I'm going to get through this fine. I'm going to rehab really well. But there's going to be 4 to 6 weeks there where it's going to be a little rough, a little mentally taxing, but I'll get through it. So I say that to say that while I'm traveling up to get that procedure done, kind of looking at the calendar here, I I have to travel up a little early for a pre-op doctor's visit, okay? So I'm going to be out of commission, and based on the condition of my elbow, I have to actually get clarification in terms of the impact on work as well, mobility-wise. But I'll be out of commission for the channel for, at least like 1 week, maybe a week and a half. So a couple of these live streams I'm not going to be doing. So essentially what they do for this is, just to give you a little bit more insight into terms of what this actually is, there are bone spurs. They're basically fragments of bones that get lodged in between the elbows. So you can think of it like a door closing. The hinge of the door can't close all the way, okay? Instead of it being able to close fully, it closes partly. And when they looked at my MRI, what they did find is that there's at least one huge chunk of bone that's in there from causing it to completely be able to bend. Now, they're not going to know the full extent of how much cleaning will be required in the elbow until they get in there. They have an idea based on the imaging, but they're not going to know fully. So, like I said, I'm excited to get this done. I've sort of put it off. I'm nervous a little bit on the rehab, but I'm excited to get this done because I really want to come back stronger and better than ever in the gym. Again, especially like bench press, military press, it has really impeded my lifts. And like my bench press is terrible. So I really want to rehab it patiently, the right way, and I want to get back and above where I was at a couple years ago. So excited to get that done. So that's kind of the news that I had for you this evening. I see a few new people in here. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Let me know what you guys are having for happy hour this evening. We have quite a few fundamental things to get into. I'll kind of talk to the charts as usual as well. We'll do a live Q&A session, see what questions people have as well. But for everybody tuning in, and no one has, you're from India. Welcome in, sir. Glad to have you. Abdullah is from India. We have a lot of people from different countries here, and I really appreciate that. People aren't just here from the United States. I mean, I'm from South Florida. We have people coming in from Australia here, Ireland, India. This is awesome. Thank you, Nathaniel. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that a lot. It's been a very challenging year. It's been a very challenging year, and I'm just trying to remain positive and optimistic that towards the end of the year, when I get this procedure done, this is something that's gonna give me some momentum going into 2023. And 2023 will be a much better year than 2022 has been, because it's been a in most senses 2022 for me personally has been a fucking miserable year, to be honest with you guys. It's important, like, no matter what you're going through in life, and I find this the older I get, it's important to keep a smile and to be uplifting and positive for other people, despite what adversity you're going through, because other people are going through things far worse than you. And I just think, our time here is very limited, and I think the degree to which you can be positive and uplifting for other people is really important. So something I'm trying to be very mindful of. Brendan, what's up, brother? You get the bell because you're always here, and I appreciate your viewership. Abdullah, we'll get to your questions. Thank you for the question. I'll get to your question in the Q&A session towards the end of the live stream. I'll give you my opinion on that. Thank you for asking the question. For everyone new tuning in, not only the thumbs up button before we get into actual crypto stuff, but what are you having for happy hour? I know what Brendan's having. He's having coffee. But let me know what you're having for happy hour. I don't know if you're having an adult beverage, you're having some wine, you're having a beer, or maybe you're just having agua. But let me know. One other non-crypto related piece of information that I kind of jotted down here in my notes that I wanted to share for everyone that I think will benefit you. I'm big on Halloween. I love horror movies. I love scary movies. I haven't found a significant other that really enjoys watching that stuff with me, since probably I was like 18 years old, so it's always something I've enjoyed doing on my own. I could never find someone that enjoyed watching that stuff with me, but I love that stuff. And I will tell you that from someone who, gory movies do not bother me. Scary movies don't bother me. I like that stuff. But I got to tell you, if you're on Netflix and you see the advertisement for Dahmer, which is Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm just giving you my opinion. I had to turn it off. It was too much for me. It's the first time that I've ever watched a show, and I was sort of repulsed from it, and it was just too much, and I just turned off of it. It's not a documentary. It's actors playing the role of Jeffrey Dahmer and others involved in those real life situations, kind of playing out what occurred back in the 80s. But I think it was episode 3. I got to episode 3 and I was like, I am not feeling this. I need to turn this off. And for whatever reason, let it continue. I went into episode 4. That was fucking it. I never finished episode 4. I just stopped it and I was like, this is too much for me. So just a word of caution that for someone, even with Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and all that stuff, none of that stuff ever bothered me. That Dahmer short series that they have up on Netflix is just not something I would recommend. So just throwing out a word of caution. But I wanted to get into some more interesting subject matter surrounding cryptocurrency because there's a lot kind of going on, and I feel that we are entering a pivotal point right now. We are entering a really big pivotal point. And it's interesting that we're coming up on elections, midterms as they call it. We're coming up on the fourth quarter, which has a lot of historical significance in crypto, and we're getting into 2023. So it's interesting that this pivotal time is sort of playing out within this relative time frame. But really what I wanted to speak to is what we can expect moving forward regarding the Federal Reserve and interest rate hikes. Now, as you know, if you've been paying any attention, and whether you have been paying attention or you haven't been paying attention, this matters for you a great deal in terms of understanding what's going on. Again, I allow all of this to tell me a story, okay? So this chart is going to tell me a story, and I do not rely on the news to tell me what's going to most likely play out in a chart based on the fundamentals. But it's still important to pay attention to what's going on in the fundamentals to understand what's going on in the business environment around us, right? And I find all the stuff within the economy very interesting. Like I've said to you, I haven't been shy at this point. I shied away in the beginning, but I have not been shy lately in telling you that, you know, this whole thing, what I do, and I want to expand it, this is something at some point I'd like to do more on a full-time basis, right? I mean, I have a full-time job, do the 9 to 5, but, you know, everything that I do here, I do want to be a bigger part of my life because everything within the financial tech space in the economy is something that I feel has been a growing passion. So, but whether it's a growing passion or not, it's very important for you to understand what's going on in the world around you from a finance standpoint so that you can better prepare yourself moving forward and anticipate what may or may not happen, right? So the Federal Reserve as it stands today has been very adamant that they are going to increase interest rates by a set amount, right? Well, we just saw the Bank of England several days ago enter quantitative easing. Now, I want to remind everyone, and for those who are not familiar, for those new joining, thumbs up button, the Bank of England was very staunch and had a very similar external message that they were very steadfast on increasing interest rates, and they were going to do whatever it took to increase interest rates to help curb inflation, okay? Inflation in England and in Europe, at least on a reported basis on CPI, is, I'm not even sure if they use CPI or if they have a different metric system. Okay, CPI is unique to the United States, I believe, and I think Europe might use something different. But whatever the case is, I think the important thing to communicate here is that what we are reporting in relation to what Europe is reporting is under what Europe is reporting. Europe is reporting higher inflation than what we're reporting, okay? Now, you know, if you've been here for a while, that that CPI is a fudged number. It's a subjective figure. Real world inflation is more than double what's being reported. I mean, CPI for us is like, what, 8.5 or 8.4, 8.6? I don't know what the hell it is. Whatever, 8.5, let's call it. Real world inflation, you know, what we feel is closer to 20%. But regardless, what we're reporting and what Europe is reporting, Europe's actually reporting higher inflation. And so they were very adamant that they were going to do what they needed to do from a policy perspective with interest rates to curb inflation. Well, until they needed to turn face. Turn about and face, all right? So they said this, and then all of a sudden they just turned this way, okay? So all of a sudden, I mean, this has never happened before, right? All of a sudden there was a crisis within the bond market. And in short, based on the amount of research that I did, and I'm not an economist, so bear with me here, but I feel like I can explain this in layman's terms. Based on my understanding, what essentially happened was because interest rates were so low, okay, and you have a lot of long-term bonds with interest rates associated with them that are tied to defined benefit plans or pension plans, okay? And the rate of returns that are associated with those bonds are aiding to help to pay for those pension plans. Well, when interest rates are so low, what's happening is the companies that are associated with it to pay those pension plans can't make the payments out. So something's got to give, right? Either the payments to the pension plans have to increase, well, they didn't want to do that, or they have to get a higher rate of return elsewhere. So what began to happen is these companies began to borrow money, okay, they took out debt at low interest rates because interest rates were real low, and they bought more bonds, okay? They bought more and more bonds, which had an accumulated higher interest rate than the lower interest rate on the debt that they took out. And what happened is, as the Bank of England began to sharply increase interest rates, that dynamic inflected, okay? It completely inflected and it wreaked havoc in the market. So then the Bank of England had to step in and start quantitative easing. They had to buy all these bonds. And they said on record, where's the article here? I mean, look at, this isn't the one. Looks like I don't have it open. This is something else I'm going to get into here. But basically they said we're going to buy on an unlimited basis the amount of bonds that we need to so that shit doesn't get real. So that institutions don't start failing. Haven't we seen this story before? Where we have a system set up such that there is the backbone of the financial system, the backbone of finances in that system has resulted in the failure or what would have been resulting failure had the government not stepped in and just printed money to prop up the system. Have we not seen this before? Again, in 2008, I was young enough, naive enough, because I wasn't educated on all that stuff to not know I didn't know what the hell was going on in 2008. I had no idea. But we see the same sort of thing going on here. So the point of what I'm trying to say here is that the Bank of England took such a hawkish view. They took such a strong view, and they said, we're going to do what it needs to take to curb inflation. We're raising interest rates. And all of a sudden, crisis, well, you know what? We're going to fucking start printing money and save all these institutions from failing. And more than likely, they're going to halt temporarily interest rate hikes while this goes on. The same thing, if you don't think that a domino effect will play out and the Federal Reserve will exhibit something similar, you're kidding yourself, in my opinion. Look at this timely article as well. The UN warns the Fed to cool rate hikes. There's a lot of pressure right now being put on the Federal Reserve to cool their interest rate hikes. Now you have the UN coming out and saying something, basically saying, look, you guys are hiking interest rates so quickly and so fast, and things have changed so aggressively that it's really going to impact the poorer class more than you guys are anticipating. You need to cut it out. Now, I will say this. First off, caveat, I always like to throw this in. Keep things real. I'm not an economist, so I can't sit here and give you an expert opinion on my view of the economy. What I can do is give you my educated view, but it's not an expert view because I'm not an economist. But what I will say, and I kind of hit on this the other week, is that it intuitively makes sense that short story. If we lived in an environment, wow, I'm getting a muscle spasm in my lower back. This is really odd. If we lived in an environment where we had low interest rates, like interest rates were like bare minimum, in fact, the lowest we have ever seen, and we lived in an environment at the same time where we introduced additional money supply such that it increased fourfold, okay? So all of a sudden, the amount of dollars in circulation increased by 80%, increased fourfold, okay, over what we had. We had no interest, and the Fed said, we'll kind of deal with it. Inflation, all this shit's transitory. We're not going to worry about it. Like, this shit's not a big deal. And this is what was said in 2020 and 21. And then all of a sudden, I mean, this is just magical. All of a sudden, inflation just starts to skyrocket, and we see ticks up from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, approaching 9. And that's just reported CPI, okay? And all of a sudden, they're like, well, fuck this. We're attacking inflation. We're just going to start increasing interest rates. They go from 0 to 100 overnight. Doesn't that seem alarming to you? Again, I'm not going to go rehash what I spoke to a week ago, but there's lags within indicators. This isn't real-time information. Whatever's being reported today is based upon at least a month ago, and this stuff has to be realized and kind of caught up to current times. So if they keep increasing and increasing and increasing interest rates, at some point intuitively it would make sense if anyone with half a brain within the Federal Reserve would be thinking for a second, we need to slow down and allow these things to materialize to see what the impact is on the economy. This is sort of what the UN is warning towards. Like, you guys are increasing interest rates at an alarming rate. And there's no pause taking place. The other thing that's really interesting about this is that, and this is the one thing I missed on the last happy hour from 2 weeks ago. I was speaking to the Federal Reserve meeting when Chairman Powell was speaking, and I thought it was so disingenuous. I guess there were two things. One thing I hit on, one I did not. But the one thing that just is so disingenuous is when he was speaking to what was causing inflation, there was not one mention of the printing of dollars. He was speaking to the war between Ukraine and Russia and supply constraints, which I'm not going to argue that obviously has an impact. If you have demand that's high and supply is coming down, that's going to drive prices up, right? If we have less of something, but the demand is relatively equal or even increasing, obviously if there's less of something and the demand is going up, this is the basic laws of economics, it's going to drive prices up, right? So I don't disagree with that, but the fact that he had the whatever to come out and speak and not acknowledge that they made a decision. Okay? They made a decision, and implicit within that decision was the acknowledgement that there would be negative consequences associated with it back in 2020. To save the economy, once again, they had to do something historic. They had to take the supply of dollars and increase it by 80% over the course of a few months. If you don't think that all these additional dollars within the system wouldn't result in inflation, you're a fucking moron. So that there's no acknowledgement of that is absurd, right? It's absurd. So implicitly what happened a couple years ago was that we were willing to sort of kick the can down the road. This is just par for the course. We kicked the can down the road. So what I'm saying is, in short, the Bank of England has been the first domino to fall. The Bank of England is the first domino to fall such that they're more than likely going to pause rate hikes or significantly scale them back. They're introducing quantitative easing to save pension funds in the bond market. You're going to see something, you will see something occur, in my opinion, in the U.S. moving forward going into 2023. If you think he's going to come out and continue to hike interest rates into the end of the year, I just don't see that happening. I don't. They're going to pivot at some point shortly. The last thing I wanted to comment on related to all this were all the rumors surrounding Credit Suisse. There were a lot of rumors surrounding Credit Suisse. For everyone new tuning in, hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate the support. There were a lot of rumors surrounding Credit Suisse that they were going to go belly up and insolvent. And we've seen, and I tweeted this out, we've seen rumors for years, more than a dozen times, that Deutsche Bank was going to go insolvent. If you looked at, I actually want to see if I have a chart up here. If you actually look at a chart of Deutsche Bank, I thought I had. I think it's DET. Yeah, I guess I don't have a chart of Deutsche Bank. I apologize. But if you look at a chart of Deutsche Bank, okay, last time I looked at it, is going like this, okay? When is the world going to wake up and realize that when you have all of these financial institutions failing or the fear of them failing, something structurally within the financial system must not be good? When will people wake up and realize this? I mean, I was blown away years ago when I learned for the first time in my life. And again, this is coming from an actuarial standpoint, literally coming from the standpoint of an analytical mind where we have to round to the nearest 10 millionth of a decimal and be correct. We have reserve requirements within statutory reporting. We're held accountable to certain actuarial principles and standards to calculate the appropriate amount of funds today to pay out future anticipated liabilities. The fact that banks could hold 2, 3, 4, or 0% of what's reported in your checking account or savings account is absurd. The reserve requirements, what's known as reserve requirements, during lockdowns, during COVID lockdowns, I don't want to get demonetized, during beer virus lockdowns, gotta fucking love YouTube. During those lockdowns, I don't know if anyone caught this, but I pointed it out on Twitter. Chairman Powell came out and took and I don't know where it's at right now, but took the reserve requirement for banks and put it at 0 during this emergency crisis, meaning that all of the funds that the bank says that they hold, like if I go into my checking account right now and I see like $3,000 in my checking account, okay, they would be required to hold 0 of that. So it's literally just a digit saying $3,000, but they don't hold any of that. Meaning if every person went to the bank and said, I want my funds, they wouldn't have it because they're required to hold 0% of it. Do you follow what I'm saying? Wow, get that off the screen. Let's get that off the screen. So it's just mind-boggling to me that it just seems like the more I've learned about our financial system, it seems like it is built on a deck of cards. Their homes built on quicksand or on sand. And they're not quicksand. Their homes built on sand, and we're just waiting for the right storm to soak up the sand so the homes sink, right? And this is why Bitcoin came about. And I'm not telling you that Bitcoin is the way and that banks should be abolished and that Bitcoin needs to take up. But I will say this. And this is what drew me in the first place to cryptocurrencies. There is an absolute love and appeal from a mathematical standpoint that there's something out there that's based on formulas, mathematics, computer code that is deflationary. Okay, every 4 years, that inflation rate for Bitcoin gets cut in half. Okay, so it's deflationary over the long term. Okay, it's peer-to-peer. There's no intermediary. There's a fixed supply. There's never going to be more than whatever the number is. I forget what the number is for Bitcoin. There is such an appeal to that when you understand it and get around the fact that you can't touch it. So fucking what that you can't touch it. People can't get around that. There is such an appeal to the fact that there's something out there that people trust and place value in, that holds value, that can be a store of value, a way to transact with people peer-to-peer. Again, fixed supply. The inflation rate decreases over time mathematically every 4 years. And there's just such an appeal to that when you see all this shit going on in the world. I mean, this is what drew me into this. So again, just interesting times. And I'm going to draw this conversation back to the DXY chart in a moment. But I want to segue for 1 second because there was one thing that I forgot to talk about before we got into all of this mess and garbaggio. And that is, before we take a look at the DXY, and I'm going to draw this back, I'm not going to lose track of where we were at in the conversation, but I didn't want to forget to bring this up. I wanted to give a shout out to Thinking Crypto. So Thinking Crypto is a channel that actually, let me see. Oh boy, you can see what I watch here. They give you things that these are suggestions based on what I've watched. So you can see I do crypto, I do a little sports, do a little Peter Schiff. But I wanted to give a shout out to Thinking Crypto. I've been subscribed to his channel for a long time. I haven't followed his content as closely lately for the past several months. I think that happens with channels. I'm sure that happens with people that follow me. They don't follow it as closely. I hope everyone follows my content closely. from this day moving forward as consistently as they have last year and the year before. But it happens. You know, you get disengaged with people at times. But I will say I've been a supporter of his channel for a while, and hooked up with him on Twitter. I've not spoken with him, but DM'd him here and there, and seems like a really nice guy. So I would suggest for you guys to check his channel out and give him a follow. But what he spoke to here, he pointed out, that I was glad to see, is apparently this is mythical at this point, this mythical airdrop for Flare is to take place, I want you to look at this is to take place between the 24th of October and the 6th of November. Now, I will say this, if this actually does come fruition, because yeah, guys, I'm not gonna rehash stuff. If you follow me on Twitter, you know this. The Flare airdrop has been a shit show. Okay, and for me personally, let's kind of bring this discussion to where we could anticipate the initial airdrop of Flare to be at in terms of USD value. And I'm going to share my thoughts in terms of what I'm doing, and several things here. I want to kind of lay this out to you. So first off, what's good for us to see here is XRP has been increasing in value. That's good for Flare, and I'm going to explain why. But we do have a potential bear pennant here. Or excuse me, a bear pennant? No, that would not be bullish. We have a potential bull pennant, okay? And I'm not going to draw the technical... we got wicks in here and everything. But basically, the technical target, let's just say the midpoint, okay? The technical target brings us somewhere, if it does break out, in here. Now, I will say, if XRP does happen to break out within the next month, anywhere between 57 and 77 cents, that would be extremely good for those who are receiving the initial Flare airdrop. And let me explain why. This chart looks at a relativity value between Flare USD and XRP USD, okay? So Flare USD is the numerator and XRP is the denominator. For those who are not good with second grade math, what that means is that if the ratio is above 1, what that means is Flare USD is higher than XRP USD. If the ratio is below 1, Flare USD is less than XRP USD, okay? And you can kind of see the chart here. But I would anticipate that when we see the Flare airdrop take place, this ratio is going to be some exuberance and some people shooting up the value here. This thing might shoot close up to 2. It's 2. Now, I want you to keep in mind what that means. If the Flare to XRP USD value is 2 or anything close to it, could be 1.7, 1.9, whatever, and XRP is in this zone, take the USD value of XRP and multiply it by that value. Let's just use 2 as a hypothetical value, okay? And let's say XRP is 65 cents at the time that the airdrop takes place. That would put Flare at $1.30. 65 cents times 2. Now, what am I doing? What am I doing? So I will be as transparent as I can with you. As you know, again, I want to reiterate, this airdrop has been a shit show. Okay? And I don't have a lot of confidence in the team. I'm just being honest. I don't have a lot of fucking confidence in the team. And what has changed is, instead of every token holder for XRP at the time of snapshot receiving a 1-to-1 distribution of Flare, they're like, no, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have to delegate your Flare to a node, stake it, and to continue to get your, I believe it's 4% monthly distribution. And I think this is something that's, I believe, this is something that's going to get voted on in the beginning of 2023. So it's not definitive, but more than likely it's going to go through, right? So now what happens is, on this initial airdrop date between the end of October and the beginning of November, you get 15% of the snapshot, 15%. Now you can sell it all, that's an option, but what that means is you can't delegate and stake it, and you won't get the remaining, 85% of your distribution, okay? Or you can delegate it and stake it and get even more. I have to look at the specifics, but you can actually get more than a 1-to-1 ratio, okay? So there's two things here I want to discuss. Now I have a Flare airdrop for me personally that is to take place in both my retirement account. I have a Bitcoin IRA account. So I have my Flare airdrop taking place there. And I have my personal account snapshot that I did. So I have two different areas. Now I want to tell you what I'm personally going to do with as much transparency as I can give you. First off, what we need to find out is where can you sell your Flare tokens? Yes, we're getting the airdrop. But let's say, for instance, I get my airdrop, and whether it's on Ledger or Coinbase or Binance US or Binance, but so you get your airdrop, but you got these exchanges participating, but the same exchanges aren't participating in buying and selling the tokens. So what the fuck are you supposed to do with it? So I got my, let's say you get 10,000 tokens as an example. You got 10,000 tokens and you see the price at like $1 and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is worth $10,000. Like, maybe I don't want to delegate and stake this shit. I just want to get out. Like, I want to get out. All right, I want the $10,000 and do whatever I want with it. Invest it, fucking go on a vacation, whatever you want to do. Well, if there's no U.S. exchanges that allow you to sell it, you're pretty much dicked, right? So the first thing I'm waiting for, and I think this is the reason, in all fairness to the Flare community, they're trying to, I think what's going on behind the scenes is they're trying to understand which exchanges will allow for buy-sell activity. That is very crucial. I want to point that out. No one's talking about that. I don't see anyone talking about those. That's critical. I'm in the U.S. I need to know if I can actually take this shit and sell it. Now, I will say this. Let's hypothetically say, and I don't see this happening, but let's say hypothetically that Coinbase allows for buying and selling of the Flare token. Again, don't see it happening because, again, they delisted XRP. I have a really big concern. That there won't be any U.S. exchanges that allow for buying and selling a Flare. Just saying that right now. Maybe you'll get an odd exchange like Uphold. No idea. But let's just say that the Flare token comes out and the initial airdrop takes place. I get my 15% distribution, and it's within the price range. I've identified a price range. If it's within my price range, okay, I have a range. If it's, and I shouldn't even call it, well, it's technically a range, but if it's above a certain amount, there's a floor. So I have a floor price. If it's at the floor or above, I plan on selling the entire fucking 15% stake. Fuck off 85%. I don't want any part of it, okay? If it's below the floor, I'm just going to keep it, wait to see what happens with the governance vote, and stake it at that point. So that is my plan. So anyone who held XRP on that snapshot, I would encourage you, stay up to date, and I will try to keep you up to date as well, and I'll try to monitor the situation. Keep up to date on two things. One is which exchanges will allow for the buying and selling of the Flare Spark token, okay? And two, what is the price? What is the price leading up to there? You can go on, this is the only thing I really found, BitTrue, which looks at, the relation of Flare to XRP to see what the hypothetical price is, okay? Right now, the ratio is 1.0683, right? So you can see right here, Flare is at 0.476 USD. So you want to keep an eye on this chart. You can look at the URL here, and you can copy it. It's bit.true.com/trade/Flare_XRP. And keep on top of which exchanges will allow for buy-sell activity. Again, I would encourage, and we're going to get off this topic and get back to some charts here. I would encourage every single person here who's getting the distribution to figure out right now, because you don't want to guess on the day of. Figure out right now, what is the price that you're willing to sell your 15% and fuck off 85%? And what price and below do you want to hold on to it? Because I will tell you that my full expectation is on the day that the airdrop takes place, there's going to be a fucking pump in the USD value of Flare, and then there's going to be a dump. So I'm just saying, prepare yourself for that. I don't see a situation where the flare airdrop takes place and it just keeps going up. Like, fuck off. That's not going to happen. It's gonna pump on the day, and then it's going to decline, and it's going to eventually bottom out. And that's why I'm saying, like, don't be upset at yourself. I'm warning you right now. History suggests that is most likely what's going to happen. So figure that out for yourself right now. I would encourage you. And the trade-off real quick is, if I'm, if for instance, this is not my price point, so I'm using it as an example, and I'm intentionally using the incorrect information because I don't want to speak to what I've sketched out for myself. Let's say that you're going to get a $10,000 initial flare airdrop, and your line in the sand is 50 cents. Okay, again, that's not my line in the sand, but let's say it's 50 cents. So that means $5,000, right? 0.5 times 10,000. So let's say that it hits on the day of the airdrop, it hits 60 cents. Okay, so you can sell everything for 6,000. It's above 50 cents. You sell out. What that means, what you're signaling is, instead of getting that additional 85%, you feel you can take that $6,000 and you can put it to better use than would otherwise be held up for the next 3 years getting those additional flare tokens. Okay, so you got to determine that for yourself. Take some time to really figure that out for yourself. You don't want to guess on the day of. You don't want to see that thing pump to $1.30 and crash 3 days later or a day later all the way to 50 cents or 40 cents or 30 cents and be upset at yourself. So just fair warning. I'm just saying that. So let's actually get into some questions, and then I'm going to get back to the last topic here, kind of circling back to what I was speaking to earlier. Thank you for everyone tuning in, by the way. I know, the happy hour, I've never done this on Tuesday. Real quick, the reason I decided to do it today was just because I was feeling it. Typically I've done this on Wednesday or Thursday. I woke up with a lot of energy today. I had a great workout. Work was actually really busy today. I had a lot of meetings, but I've been kind of like here and there. And I felt like I had a lot of energy and a lot to communicate to you guys that I wanted to speak to. The other thing that's real helpful is in full transparency, I feel like a lot of times I've come on here, the market is all in red. And it's like I'm preparing to do one of these live streams and the market's in green and all of a sudden it goes red. And I was like, the market isn't green and it looks like it's staying green. I want to capitalize on this. So can I actually have a day where it's more positive? Bitcoin's up and, I can come on here where maybe people are a little less salty. So that actually played a role in it as well. Thumbs up button for everybody new tuning in. So let me get into the questions like I said here. Let me see if there's any questions. So Abdullah asks, which exchange is best for crypto trading? So, and again, I don't encourage day trading. I think most people lose at that, I guess, but to each their own. Maybe you're a proficient day trader. But if you want to trade, I've had some favorable experience using MEX, Jesus, how do you even pronounce this? MEX Global, whatever the hell it's called. This exchange. All right, MEXC, okay. I've had some success using that more recently. I might have an affiliate link for that soon, kind of working through that right now. Want to make sure I'm comfortable doing that before I do it. So I've had some favorable experience using that. And then the other exchanges I personally use in the United States, I use Binance US and I use Coinbase Pro. I guess they're switching to advanced Coinbase or whatever the heck they're changing to, but I haven't switched over. I would say increasingly more I'm using Binance US. So to answer your question directly, I think it's a mix. There is no best. I think it's a mix between Binance US, MEXC, Coinbase Pro, and increasingly I've been using more Binance US. So hope that helps to answer your question. Scrambled eggs, man. I have eggs every morning. I guess that's one thing that's positive that's come out of the past year. I kind of got in a better routine of having eggs every morning. Trying to take the positives with life. But good to hear. I have eggs, egg whites, and whole eggs. If I do whole eggs, most days I have at least one whole egg. Some days I do 2 whole eggs and then egg whites. And some days I just do egg whites. I also love avocado. Throw some everything bagel seasoning in there with some toast. Very good. John, welcome in, brother. What you having for happy hour? Hit that thumbs up button, brother. Hit that thumbs up button. What else we got here? Oh, nice cold hard water today. Nice. I feel you. I know what you're saying. Like, I know what you're putting down right now. You're not saying it, but your words you're typing are saying it. You're just not. You're not. Yeah, I got you. Joe's comment. Let's look at this. Look at Joe's comment real quick. Read it with me. You can read it as easy. You can watch my lips going. Well, they are the first domino. I agree with you there. You're saying have never entered quantitative tightening? Is that true? I don't know the answer to that question, but they are the first domino to fall. Building on the run is never a good sign. It means most likely it started with the wrong foundation. Yeah. Yeah, everybody, smash the likes button. By the way, I'm going to cover a few charts here, bring this back to the earlier conversation, and then any other questions you guys have. Mostly, I want to take things I want to take most questions from a TA standpoint, but given all the fundamental stuff that I covered, if anybody has any questions there, feel free to chime in. A few familiar names in the chat I am not seeing right now, so let me know if you're tuning in, because there are a few. There's a few names I've become familiar with that I'm not seeing right now. Yeah, so what I wanted to do is all this talk about interest rates and pivoting and pressure on the Federal Reserve, potential financial crises with central banks, banks potentially, some institutions failing. I wanted to bring this back to the DXY for a moment. And this is the comment that I wanted to make. I think all of this stuff that I've spoken to, and hopefully you can get this based on the energy that I bring to the conversation, okay? This stuff is really interesting to me, and I find it very, I like to be informative and present this information to you guys, and it's very thought-provoking. I would welcome going out to a happy hour actually in person with someone and just kind of having a discussion about a lot of this stuff. Okay. But from an investment standpoint, I want to hit home on this. This is what I look at. I don't listen to that stuff when I'm basing what I think is going to play out in the markets. This is what I look at. I look at the charts. Show me a chart and I'll tell you the story. And speaking of telling a story, part of the story is hitting the thumbs up button when you come into contact with this channel. But this is really what I'm looking at. And on the DXY, one of the things that I've drawn out here in this parabola formation that has occurred within the dollar index. And again, there's an inverse relationship between the DXY and the stock market and crypto investments, or the crypto market, excuse me. So as the DXY is going up, traditionally they go down. As the dollar corrects, typically those investment values appreciate in value, okay? So what I've drawn here are areas of support. And really what I want to see to feel convinced from a DXY perspective that we're going to see continuation in asset values increasing between the stock market and cryptocurrencies. I need to see us come down here and test this area, which is around 108 to 107. I need to see us break, come down here and test around, 105 to 104. Break this and then come down to 101, around 101, and so forth and so forth and so forth. What's the expression? Wow. Don't you love it when you're live and you just kind of continue, you forget the expression and then you sound like a complete moron? I am actually an intelligent individual, even if I lose my words sometimes. I promise you. So on and so forth. There we go. So on and so forth. But this is really what I'm watching for on the DXY. Now, I pointed out negative divergences on the price indicators. We're not going to go into that. It's beating a dead horse at this point. We're going to go over this shit in the Bitcoin weekly close. I don't want to regurgitate the same stuff. Thumbs up button. Thumbs up button, motherfuckers. Thumbs up button. Hey, and let me know what you guys are having for the happy hour as well. I've had 2 people tell me what they're having to drink for their happy hour. Like, what is up with that? I see other people commenting here with good questions and good comments. No one has commented what they're having for a happy hour. Guys, this is not a traditional live stream. I'm not looking to do the traditional thing that everybody else does on YouTube. This is a virtual happy hour. I don't care if you drink water. This is water. Share what you're having to drink, because this is not as much fun if people don't. I want to know if you're having an interesting beer. I want to know if you're having an interesting flavored water. I don't really care. Just share what you're having during the happy hour. So that's what I'm watching for on the DXY. And again, it's just sort of the same old story with a lot of these other charts I'm going to look at. I'm just going to look at 2 more charts with you guys. 2 more charts. I'm going to take questions. Let's look at the S&P. Now, if you have not watched the Bitcoin weekly close from this prior week, let me go to my channel real quick. Go to, hey, look, I'm alive. Go to the Bitcoin weekly close, which has an astonishing 68,000 views. Okay, that's what it shows here. 68,000 views. Go to the Bitcoin crypto weekly close from just a day ago, it says, although it was 2 days ago. And check out my commentary on the S&P, okay? So what I would say on the S&P, Voodoo Ranger IPA. Nice, Kevin. I like it. God, that's a damn good beer. I haven't had that since I went golfing, which was, Christ, that was a long time ago. What I like to see on the S&P is a bounce back here. Now, as you recall, one of the pieces of commentary I provided when looking at this chart, if this really is the kiss of death, and we really do see a scenario which I think the probabilities were 1/3 of the time. So 1/3 of the time we could expect something like this, right? 2/3 of the time we could expect a fake out and continue upwards until maybe we get a correction later, okay? I spoke to that in the last live stream. You can check that out. But what's good to see right now is we're seeing some good bullish momentum, and this is a monthly candlestick, in the first couple days to start off the month. What we really need to see, though, I mean, this is nothing. What we really need to see is we need to see eventually for the entire month, we need to get back up in this area above the 10, excuse me, above the 21 exponential moving average, and then we need to get ultimately above this candlestick, the prior month high, and close above it to start to feel convicted, and then break this area right here on this candlestick to really start to feel convicted that we're going, Jesus. What was that? What just happened right there? See, when you go live, like, you can't edit this stuff. Like, this shit just happens. And you stutter over your words. And you sound like you can be smart, but you sound dumb. So what we want to see are higher highs and higher lows. And we want to negate some of these highs that had been created in previous months' candlesticks. Okay, so we need to get above this wick here and above this red line here. But a good start to the month. It's a good start to the month. So we'll have to see. Again, we are, how many days? We're 2 days into the month, okay? So we still have another, I think October has 31 days. Yeah, we still have another 5, 10, 15, 16. We still have another 19 days in the month, okay? Because again, crypto trades 24/7, the S&P, and stocks, they only go on the weekdays from 9 to 5, or 9 to, what, 9 to 4 or 4:30? I've even lost track. I don't trade stocks anymore. I don't buy and sell stocks. Although I was actually looking at a few stocks yesterday. I might throw a little bit in. I haven't bought a single stock in forever. Last chart I wanted to cover here, and I've done quite well just staying in crypto, so no complaints. This is the 12-hour. I lay out all the steps here. I have a video out. Like, I don't need to go in and rehash everything, because you guys, if you've been subscribed here, you should know this. And if you don't, check out my videos. Again, it's if you go to my channel, maybe one last time I'll repeat this. If you go to The Bitcoin bull is back. I recorded this a month ago. There are 340 views on that video. I like to make things appeal a little bit more positive. So I'm going to take that 340 and I'm going to add 3 zeros on the end of it. There are 340,000 views associated with that video. Check it out. It's pretty damn popular, at least for my channel. So there's three steps associated with this 12-hour chart, which is good to see, barring a devastation on today's close. We have gotten up in this yellow zone, okay? We got to remain patient, guys. Remain patient. What I personally want to see happen, I don't want to see this happen. That's not what I want to see happen, and I don't think that's realistic either. What I want to see happen is now that we're up in the yellow zone, consolidate in between the 50, this is the 200, the pink, and the 50. Consolidate in here. Then come up here and consolidate above the 200. What that's going to cause is not only is price increasing in value, but it's going to cause the 50 to curl up, the 200 to flatten and begin to gradually curl up, and you're going to get a golden cross. Once this happens and we get the golden cross, all 3 steps have been completed on the 12-hour, and we can go to step 2 within that video. This is how a trend starts to turn around. A trend doesn't turn around by going like this. It's not realistic. A trend turns around by going like this. And this is based on historical performance. And then we get this, and then we continue to go up. That's how a trend begins to turn bullish and revert, get away from bearish price action and revert back to bullish price action. So that's what to watch out for on the 12-hour chart. Guys, let me ask you, what questions do you have for me? Because what's up next on my agenda is to air fry up some barramundi fish, saute up some Brussels sprouts, some onions, maybe a little, I'm not sure how I'm going to season the Brussels sprouts. I don't know, but I'm really feeling Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, barramundi, have one more glass of the old vino, and chill. I'm not sure what I'm watching on TV today. I don't know. I just finished up the documentary on the GME GameStop stuff, which was really interesting. I would encourage you guys to check that out on Netflix. I don't know what I'm going to watch this evening. I might get back to Blacklist. I was watching a lot of Blacklist. Thumbs up, everybody. I might get back to Blacklist. I don't really know, but we'll see where the evening goes. Things might get a little crazy. Got myself some barramundi, some Brussels sprouts, and a glass of red wine. Shit might get really crazy this evening. God, I know. It's my sense of humor. Anybody have any questions for me? Anybody have any questions at all? I don't think I'm going to be doing another video until Sunday, so this may be your last interaction with me for the next 5 days. Anybody have anything? Felt good to get back to the happy hour. I missed last week again because I was sick, and it's been a shit-tacular year. So, it's the ebbs and flows of life. Like, you go through cycles, right? You have a clusterfuck of things occur in your life, and you can be cynical and pessimistic and say it's unfair, and you were treated unfair, and you had unfair things happen to you, and there were things that came up, and you weren't what, or you can say, what, these things happen, and they happen to everybody, and it sucks, and it's tough, and it's difficult, but everybody goes through tough times. Tough times do not last. Tough people do. So we're going to kick off 2023 right by getting the elbow surgery, and the crypto market's turning around. CBG is going to be full-time on YouTube and other things as well, and you're going to be seeing me every fucking day. I don't know about that, but no questions. Nobody has any questions. All right, so I will check back in with you guys on the Bitcoin crypto weekly close. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys have a nice evening or a nice morning, a nice day, wherever you're at. Thank you, everyone from all around the world, India, Australia, the United States, for tuning in. Brendan, thank you very much. You guys take care of yourself, really, all right? Spread awareness, all right? Spread this channel. Spread this channel around. Share it with at least one person. They might find value in it. But in all seriousness, spread awareness, carry the education forward. I appreciate you guys a lot.